3 whole days I sat in that classroom learning how to be a responsible, ethical hunter. I even took a test, and with a little study, I passed, and I earned my license. Now that I'm a legal hunter, I look back on those 3 days in class, and I remember all of the things that they told us not to do, all the things that they told us to prevent us from being unethical hunters, and the precautions taken to limit unethical hunters. But unethical hunters should not be the face of big game hunting, which most of the time they are. Big game hunting is not a bad thing. It definitely should not be completely eradicated because it provides a very large amount of money to African countries and communities. It also allows hunters to go out and earn respect for the animal and earn respect for what they're doing, and it teaches them so many things while they're out hunting. And actually the money that comes in from hunting big game goes back to conservation efforts into saving other species, into bringing back more and more endangered species. Big game hunting provides tons and tons of money to Africa's communities and Africa's society. Big game hunting brings in millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. It actually brings in an average of over $200 million annually to just Africa alone each year. One person will pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go on these hunts. Well, that money will go back to the country and go back to their conservation efforts. A study was done by Jason Goldman, and he asked over 120 hunters that have been to Africa or plan on going to Africa in the past and next 3 years. And that study showed that 83% of the people said that they would rather hunt in places where it is not that populated with animals and it is not very active with the animal that they're looking for, and it has rougher terrain, if it means that the money that they spend on that animal goes back to the community and goes back to those conservation efforts to help protect the animals in that country. Whenever it comes to respect for the animals, hunters have a large amount of respect for animals. The ethical hunters, the good hunters, they have a bond between the animals. And I know this firsthand, and I know my family knows this firsthand. But whenever you go hunting, you don't just hunt to hunt. You hunt to go for the experience. You hunt to go provide for your family. You go to just experience it all, and you develop a mutual respect between you and the animal. And I believe that the respect between the animal gets stronger through hunting because you learn to appreciate what you're hunting for. You learn how they live, and that it's not just something that you're hunting, it's not just an animal, it's something that you're actually out there hunting for, and it's a living, breathing thing that can feel. And I don't understand why most people think hunters just hunt to hunt. Yet, unethical hunters will hunt to hunt. They will hunt for the pride of it, the joy of it, the satisfaction of it. But ethical hunters see it differently. If you kill off everything that's out there, there's no point. There would be no point out there, would be no meaning to hunting. It would just be a massacre. It would be pointless. There would be no more animals to kill, therefore there would be no point in hunting. Good big game hunters always make sure that the money goes back to helping endangered species. It goes back to the animal that they've developed a respect for. Over 50% of big game hunters that were studied in Jason Goldman's research said that they would pay the same amount for a pest animal that they would for a bigger prize animal or trophy animal, just to give back to the community and just to say, hey, I got rid of this for you, and basically helping out with the communities of Africa. A good percentage of it, I know I've said this repetitively, but it goes back to conservationists and it helps support the provision of endangered animals. And a good example of that is the white rhino. The white rhino in Zambia, it was down to only a few hundred rhinos left in Zambia. And someone decided that they were going to start selling permits, and there was only 5 permits that were allowed to be sold each year. And this, whenever they sold them, farmers and landowners started to realize that, oh, this can make money, this can be good for our businesses. They started actually breeding and reproducing these white rhinos, and their populations went from only a few hundred to 11,000 separate rhinos, and it is still increasing to this day. And scientists predict that this will help with other species in the future, and it will continue to add on and save endangered species. And because it worked for the rhinos, so why couldn't it work for anyone else? Some people will say that big game hunting is unethical and it forces animals into endangerment, but it's not the legal and ethical big game hunters that are the cause of this. It's basically the poachers that are causing the actual problem. There's a statistic done in 2014. Only 9,000 animals were killed by big game hunting, and that includes every big game hunting. It doesn't even have to be big game necessarily, like antelope and warthogs and kind of little stuff. All together, the foreign hunts, is only 9,000 animals killed in 1 year. And animals killed by poaching each year, which is where it comes in problem, was over 100 million animals. That's a 0.009% of that. Hunting is 0.009% of that. Not even a full percent. It's sad. It really is. Yes, I understand that there are unethical hunters out there who are just going out there for the fun of it, who are just going out there to kill. But there are ones that have respect for animals and try to give back to the land and try to give back to the communities that they're hunting in. And instead of completely demolishing big game hunting, we should try to make the laws for it more strict. So the animals that are killed by big game hunting, the parts that the hunters don't use, should be skinned and processed for consumption and tool production in local African communities, so the meat is not being wasted. And there is actually something that the permits sold are for animals that are older and can't reproduce, but that should be more strict. So the animals that, like, during breeding season, don't endanger the females and don't go after the breeding males, so that that species can reproduce and keep building. And the money produced from big game hunting should go towards not only just conservation efforts to help raise money to breed those animals, but it should also go back to efforts to stop poaching. So, to prevent people from killing off those animals. We can even, ourselves, in order to help this, we can even donate money to organizations trying to stop poaching, even if we don't hunt, which I would and I do hunt, and it's a good thing to donate to organizations who try and stop poaching so that our species don't go endangered. But in summary, eradicating big game hunting is not the answer to saving endangered species, to saving those endangered animals, and would impact Africans' communities greatly. Big game hunting is not a bad thing if you do it ethically. It's the poaching that comes into problem, and that is what I believe is becoming the face of big game hunting, and it really shouldn't be. So, I believe that big game hunting should be seen for what it is, as something that could actually benefit the animals and Africans' communities, instead of something that's just going out there and killing things off. And I believe that we should try and make ethical laws. There is actually no laws for ethical hunting, but I believe that there should be.